In this video, we will be searching the Pace Library to find relevant research sources for a literature review. When writing a literature review, you will include sources that don't exactly answer your research question, but that explore important sub-themes and concepts related to your topic. So you will want to explore a variety of resources to look for diverse perspectives. One place to start your research could be in a general academic database. A database is an organized set of information which is searchable. You can think of streaming services that we all might use, like Netflix and Hulu, as types of databases because you're able to search or browse for specific media in those organized interfaces. And scholarly databases function in a similar way. These databases include a wide variety of research articles on many topics, so it can be a helpful place to start and get a basic idea of what research has been published on your topic. So from the library homepage, I can click on the Databases tab, and in the Subject dropdown, I can go down to General and click Go. In the new window that pops up, this is our A to Z databases list, and it is focused on our general academic databases. So I can start in something like Academic Search Ultimate.
So let's say that my research question is, what are the most effective community-based interventions to address police brutality in urban areas? I can start with these broad keywords like police brutality and community. After I look through some of the search results, I might expand my keywords to include things like interventions or urban areas. And we're going to use the multiple boxes in Academic Search Ultimate to separate the keywords. This tells the database how my keywords should relate to one another in my results. So in the first box, I entered police brutality in quotation marks so that the database only brings back that whole phrase together and not two separate words. And I can also use these drop downs on the right side to tell the database where those words should appear. So through the entire article, should it only appear in the title? That would be really, really limiting to only bring back articles that have that phrase in the title, but sometimes that can be helpful depending on what you're looking for. The two that are helpful are the subject terms and the abstract. The abstract is like the summary. So if the phrase police brutality shows up in the abstract, I can guarantee that it's going to be a focus of the article. And I have my two keywords connected by and, so that both of these concepts show up in my search result. And looking at these filters down here, I'm going to just check off the box for full text to ensure that I only get full articles and not just descriptions. And I can click search. So I have 515 results, but we can narrow those down a bit to better meet our needs. We're going to open up the All Filters menu so we can see all of the potential limiters to refine our results. You can kind of think of this like when you're shopping for clothes online, where you can select different sizes and fits to help narrow your selections. So publication date is an option, but you are doing a review of the most important research in the field when you do a literature review. So you might not necessarily want to limit yourself to, the past 5 years or 12 months. However, you want to make sure that when you're looking at an article, you look at how old it is to ensure that you situate the content historically within the topic when you review it. We do want to go to source type and limit to academic journal articles, and we'll click apply. So that narrows us down to 200 articles, and we should only have academic journals that we have full text for in this database. And we want to review all of these results to determine if they're worth investigating for our lit review. Remember, we are looking for articles that address the major themes of the topic and can show where your work will fit in with what's already been said on the topic. So I might want to think ahead of some sub-themes that really help my readers understand the broader topic of my research question. So as I'm looking through these articles, I might want to look for research about the history of police involvement in cities and urban areas, or perhaps some of the first community-based interventions that were tried, and perhaps some research on the broader themes that contribute to negative police interactions in urban communities. So let's start looking at the articles. Looking at this first one, I want to situate it within a time frame and a topic area. So it is in Alabama between 1920 and 1945, and it's about the history of community activism. So this might be interesting for my subtopic on the history of police involvement in cities, and I might want to review that later just to see if it's too specific to that time frame and location. The next few also focus on a specific location like Halifax in 1991, Trinidad and Tobago. This one deals with COVID. So I might want to skip those for now. But looking at number 5, it seems promising. So reducing police brutality in African American communities, potential roles for social workers in congregations. And it is from fall of 2020, so it's pretty recent. And it's published in the journal called Social Work and Christianity. So that tells me a bit about the focus of the article. And then I can read the summary right here, which talks a little bit about potential solutions. So starting here, it says congregational social workers and other social workers who are part of religious congregations can play a potentially significant role in addressing the problem of police brutality. And then it says this manuscript explores and describes possible contributions by social workers. So I might want to look into this article a little more, and I can click on PDF full text. So now we are inside the article itself, and most scholarly articles will have a similar format where there's the title, the authors, a description or what's called the abstract, and then an introduction. And there may sometimes be standardized sections like literature review, methods, discussion, conclusion, and that describes what's in those sections. Or there might be headers like this, which are more specific about the content. So this kind of looks like a history of the topic. And then if we keep scrolling down, why the church? So that gives you context on what you're going to read in those sections. So you can use those headers as, because you don't necessarily need to read every single word of the article. You want to look for the sections that really apply to your particular question and topic. And if you find a really great article, a great place to look for additional sources is the references section. So these are the resources at the bottom of an article which the author used to do their research and come to their conclusions. So reviewing these sources can provide you with additional sources to use. And the Pace Library website has a tutorial on how to locate sources that you might find through this process, and you can find it in the description of this video. So now, if I want to keep this article for my research, what do? There are some tools up here in the top right. So saving this item will save it into your saved folder in EBSCO on the left side. The cite button will give you a copy and pastable citation. So if I drop this down and click on MLA, I can copy and paste this citation. There's the plus sign to add it to a project, which again will show up on the left side in your dashboard. There's a download button, a print button, and a share button, which allows you to create a permanent link to copy and paste into whatever research log that you're using to track your sources.
Before you start searching, these are some helpful tips that you might want to think about and keep in mind as you're performing your research. First, you can use a search log spreadsheet or a document to help organize relevant sources. And we will link to one of these in the description of this video, but it can be a spreadsheet or a Word document or a Google document where you just keep track of where you found a source, the title, the author, and the year, a quick summary or relevant information of how it relates to your topic or your literature review. Maybe you can keep the citation there. And any notes that will help you remember why it's relevant. You also want to pay attention to the language that's used in relevant articles because you can add those potential keywords to your keyword list for future searches. And lastly, just remember to try multiple databases and search resources for a variety of sources and perspectives. So let's go back to the library homepage. Another great place to search would be a subject-specific database. These are collections of journals and sources that are specific to a discipline area. So for criminal justice, I would come to the Pace Library's Databases tab. click on the subject drop-down one more time and click on criminal justice. Now this is our A to Z databases list again, but now rather than being general databases, these are all links that have some information about criminal justice. An academic search ultimate shows up here, but again, it says it's almost every subject area, whereas we want to look down at something like the criminal justice collection, which is going to focus on topics in that area. So let's repeat our results for police brutality in quotation marks and community, and click search. Notice this database looks a little bit different, but we do have a lot of the same things. We have our filters, they're just on the right side. And our filter for source type is actually right here at the top. So we want to check the tab for academic journals since we are looking for scholarly research. And I can follow the same process of seeing what source it's from, when it was published, September this year, reading the article title, and then it gives us a little preview of the abstract. And I can go through this same process of looking through each article to see if they provide some information about my major sub-themes. And lastly, you are not limited to journal articles for your literature review. So you could come back to the library homepage and check the Books and Media tab for printed books, electronic books, and videos on your topic. So once again, if I search for police brutality, and I can put it in quotation marks or leave it without and then try it with it later on. So now we have a listing of print books, ebooks, videos, and audiobooks that we have available through the library. So if I want to access one of the ebooks, I can click right here for View eBook.
And it will open up the record for that ebook. And I may have to take one extra step to get to the full text. So the download button doesn't actually download the full book. It will tell you what your download page limit is. In this case, it's 15 pages. So the Access Options button is where we want to go to look at the PDF full text. And from here, I can scroll through page by page or use the next arrow at the bottom. Or I can look on the right side and drop down the different sections of each chapter. One helpful feature of ebooks is also the search within function. So instead of just scrolling through the book, I can click the search button and type in a concept that I want to search for. So if I type in community, now I can see all the different places in the book and the page numbers and the sections where that term shows up. So rather than in a physical book, going to the index, finding the concept, writing down the page numbers, and then going back to them, in this way, I can just click on a page and it will take me there and highlight the instances of the words that I'm looking for. The other helpful aspects of the ebooks are up in the toolbar at the top. So I have a text-to-speech option, which is great for accessibility. And the download button is still here. I also have a share button, so I can create a link back to the book, and a citation button. So again, I can drop down, pick MLA, and copy and paste that into my works cited. Or I can save this item to my saved folder in my dashboard when I'm back on the main EBSCO search page.
And looking back at the list of results, there may also be listings of print books that you can access from our physical spaces. So this one is a print book from the year 2000. There's a quick summary here, and it is available at the Beekman Library. This is the call number that you could use to access it on the shelf. Or if you click on the title to go into the record, under access options, you can select place hold, and it will tell the library that you want to access it, and it will pull it off the shelf for you and keep it for you at the circulation desk and send you an email when it's ready to be picked up. So to review, to complete your literature review, you want to follow these steps. First, you want to reflect on your research question to select effective keywords. You might want to create a chart like the one below to keep yourself organized as you find relevant information and track the sources, where you found them, and the themes in each one. And there is a link to an example that you can use in the description of this video. And you also want to search in a variety of places, including general databases, subject-specific databases, as well as books, and potentially even films and documentaries. And you may also find appropriate organizations or government sources, which will be based on your particular topic. And if you have any questions, you can contact the library by coming in person, by contacting a librarian that might be attached to your course, or going to our website and using the Ask a Librarian service, which you can find on the bottom right.